to our channel, where we set out to explore wonderful, great works of literature.
While dressed in elegant clothing, because...
Why the hell not? You didn't say it. Okay, we'll move ahead. We'll push on. So today we have a double feature, and today we'll be discussing Anthony Trollope. He was born April 24th, 1815, and he died in 1882, I believe, at the age of 67. You're trying to find which one we're going to take up first. So he was an English novelist and a civil servant within the Victorian period. I think he worked in a post office.
You're looking at me like I know the answers. I don't.
That's what
I don't know the answers.
That's what the internet is telling me. And so we have two books for you here.
Look at this delightful treat.
We just love the aesthetics of it.
Look at how nice, and then it
has wonderful
this
pictures.
Is basically why we got it. And then it has nice golden pages and little illustrations.
And if you're at all interested
throughout.
to know what book Ava's holding, it is the Eustis Diamonds. And the other one here is Dr. Thorne. So the Eustis Diamonds is one of his later works, but Dr. Thorne is actually one of his best known, well-regarded works. Both have merits, both have drawbacks, and I would say they're similar in terms of their plot. Mm-hmm. And when I first was thinking about taking a few Anthony Trollope novels on, I was kind of underwhelmed because I totally forgot what his oeuvre was, what his production was, and that he was quite a prolific writer. He has a number of series of novels that are kind of put in a set, I suppose, and they're all set in this imaginary town that he invented. And he has all these different characters that run in and out of these novels. But in a way, later part of his life, he was kind of forgotten by the literary establishment and audiences generally. And I think he kind of has the same fate as Herman Melville, who wrote Moby Dick, who only became very popular after he died. And many people had even remarked after Herman Melville had died that they thought he had died 20 years before. But I think, in a way, Anthony Trollope has that same presence. But not to say that he isn't part of the canon, I guess. He was friends with one of our favorite writers, Wilkie Collins, with The Moonstone and the Woman in White. Mm-hmm. And so the one we'll be talking about first is the Eustis Diamonds. And in a way, it kind of reminded us a little bit of
Agatha Christie, Poirot.
But also Wilkie Collins' one. Which one was that? The Moonstone.
Oh, another book. Oh, okay.
Yeah, another book. I guess there's a lot of interesting
but more
features.
verbose, I would say.
More verbose.
Yeah, meaning redundant in that, he's...
Yeah.
Well,
let's get into it. We'll get into it.
Okay, let's get into it.
Okay, do you want to start off with
No.
description of characters?
Nah. Okay, well, there's Lizzie. She's you can explain.
Okay.
Lizzie
So
Eustace is the main
Eustace.
character.
Yeah.
And then there's Frank, which is her cousin, who's the other main character.
And then there's Lord Fawn,
Then
who's
there's
another
Lord
main
Fawn,
character.
who's another main character.
Well,
Basically, it's Lizzie and all her suitors.
Yeah.
And then these kind of side characters that run around in the plot in the background.
Well, it's a very basic definition, a basic description of the plot. So essentially, she's a conniving, willful, very disagreeable personality as you read the book. This,
but not
Lady
too
Eustace.
disagreeable. She's disagreeable, but she's not a villain. She's like a lovable villain.
Yeah, I would say more villainous than lovable for me.
Yeah.
So anyway, she inherits...
Yeah, she's not very lovable. She also doesn't do anything so horrid that you're like, this person's repulsive.
Yeah. She has no qualms about lying to get her own way. Mm-hmm. She marries, a sickly lord, and very much after they go to the honeymoon in Scotland, she shows her true colors, and very soon after that, he kind of dies. Not that there's anything underhand in sort of the way he died. He actually died from tuberculosis, and she inherits his estate in Scotland. And she has an heir to his, she has a boy who's the heir to the estate. And she's 22 years old, so she's very young.
She acts like a 22-year-old, I'd say.
I'd say so, yeah. So she inherits...
about.
Yeah. She inherits £4,000 a year, but most importantly, she inherits a £10,000 diamond necklace. Yeah, diamond necklace. And so much of the story revolves around, I guess, her kind of like doing
Parading them around too.
Yeah, parading around and doing battle with the lawyers of the estate, and claiming that the inheritance is actually hers. That these
gift,
heirlooms were a gift from her late husband.
But they're not really heirlooms, and there's like pages about why it's not an heirloom.
Yeah, and like it goes into like a full legal treatise on gifts
but we don't need to repeat that part.
versus heirlooms and what is considered what, and it became rather tiresome to read.
Yeah, it has so much potential. There are parts that were funny. There's some great characters in the background.
Yeah, he has a regrettable habit of repeating the plot. Oh no, I think he just broke the record. He just repeats the plot quite a bit and just recaps it. So it's about 600 and something pages. It could definitely be reduced to easily half that. Yeah.
Because I think each chapter he almost like a mini series, and they had the recap in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On a TV show, he does that, and that's because it was published that way, right? In minis.
I'm not sure. Like a lot of them, the 19th century novels, like Dickens, they serialized it so it'd come out in installments. And they'd be paid for installment, right?
Well, you told me quite confidently that that's why.
Well,
now you're backpedaling.
Well, I know that was a practice that was done. Dostoevsky did the same thing, and that's why you get a lot of these repetitive plots, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah. And anyway, so the basic theme in here is this idea of morality versus money, and I guess this is kind of like indicative of the times. Particularly status-driven Victorian society. There was a very much you had to marry for money, especially if you wanted a political career, you wanted to be in Parliament, and a lot of these characters do battle with their inherent sense of what is right and what is moral.
Yeah, but it wasn't juicy. It was like neither juicy nor psychologically thrilling.
Yeah.
It was kind of just an in-between the two. So I feel like it had so much more potential.
Yeah.
It wasn't like totally disappointing. It just like we got through it and with ease. But yeah.
I think one of and then there ends up being like sort of a mysterious occurrence where the diamonds end up getting stolen one night, but then at one point she put in the box was broken into, and then everyone thought the diamonds were stolen.
Which I'm pretty sure we saw in like a Poirot episode.
Yeah, but the diamonds weren't actually stolen.
It was way better in a Poirot episode.
So she actually had it under her pillow, and then they were stolen a second time, and then finally she was bereft of the diamonds. But yeah, there was a lot of drama, secrecy.
I didn't find like the event of the stealing and discovery of the diamonds the fun part. It was like seeing how she interacted with all these people as her lies become obvious. Yeah. That's the part that's like, as she just keeps lying on top of lies, and there's a web of them, and then people, you think that people who would see her deceit didn't, and then those.
Well, just based on that point.
Got a little buddy here.
Yeah, based on that point, I did comment earlier on, and I did feel that wow, like a lot of the side characters. They have a sense for who she is earlier on. Yeah. And like I find it's frustrating a lot of times in novels, you have the villainous character and then everybody gets duped by this character until finally the great reveal in the end, and it becomes rather cathartic, and finally somebody exposes them for who they are. Yeah. But here like Trollope makes it abundantly clear that like nobody really likes her, and they all see through her BS, let's say. Baloney. Yeah. And so, except for her, her one sort of confidant she had, who was Lucy Morris, and there's this young girl, and she's kind of like the naive, the virtuous one, the one who's madly in love with Lizzie Eustace's cousin Frank, who is a member of Parliament, and he wants to make a name for himself, very promising politician, but he of course needs a lot of money, so he starts thinking maybe.
Okay, you don't have to give the entire plot away.
Well, he thinks like maybe instead of proposing to her, he proposes to Lucy Morris because he loves her, but she's not very wealthy, and then he starts to consider, maybe he should be marrying for money instead, which everybody advises him to do.
Yes. Okay, that's enough of that one.
So so that was that one, and then the other one was Dr. Thorne, and there was actually there was a little mini series actually recently, maybe a few years back, written by Julian Fellows. And
Yeah,
Julian Fellows did Downton Abbey, if any of
And it
you
says-
watched that.
It says Trollope kills me with his excellence.
Who said that?
Tolstoy.
Oh,
Those are
there
some
you
big words.
those are big fans.
Yeah.
So it has a similar plot. So again, there's a character named Frank, and again he,
I still like that name.
yeah, and he's in love with Mary, but of course he has a position status that he has to keep. He has to keep up appearances.
Repeating theme there.
Repeating theme, and turns out Mary, whom he actually loves, she's due to inherit a considerable fortune.
But nobody knows.
But I think her uncle, Dr. Thorne, does not want to tell Frank of the actual financial situation of his niece or ward, because he doesn't want the monetary reasons to influence Frank's decision. He wants it to be through true love. So again,
that one seems more interesting.
Yeah, it was a slightly smaller novel at 558 or so, but still a considerable tome. I think when reading them, I enjoyed this one more because this one had a considerable number of like repetitions and reiterations. But apparently, there was an article said about recently where they said Trollope is now getting quite popular again.
Resurgence.
Yeah.
Maybe
I wonder why.
Maybe because of all the Netflix videos.
Or maybe because there's all these money-hungry
Ladies out there.
men and women looking to turn a profit. But who knows?
I'm trying to find love at the same time.
That's right.
Ba-ba-ba-da.
Okay, well, this was a rather short episode, considering sort of the large books that we have here. Oh yeah,
You ready?
we should
Drum
read it.
roll. And?
I would rate it 3.7 out of 5. 3.4.
Okay.
What about you?
I'll give it a 3.2.
That low, eh? Okay, alright.
We've read some good stuff.
We've let, yeah. Our standards have increased, right?
But
Have
for
risen.
the aesthetic again.
The aesthetic
yeah,
design.
4.9.
Definitely caught our attention in the bookstore.
And the illustrations are cool.
Yes,
This
Very
one will be really pretty on a shelf.
I think so. Very good.
Anyway,
Okay, well, thank you for joining us.
joining.
And we hope you have a good evening.
And a good autumn.
Yep. And a good autumn. Take care. Bye-bye.